All right. Ready for a deep dive into something really fascinating?
I'm ready. Let's go.
We're talking about exercise.
Okay.
But not just the typical stuff about getting in shape. We're going way deeper into the connection between, get this, moving your body and powering up your brain.
Yeah. We tend to think of those things separately, like exercise is for the body, thinking is for the brain.
Exactly.
But what the research is showing is that they're totally intertwined.
Totally.
Yeah.
And one of the studies we looked at, this one out of the University of Illinois, they had kids run on treadmills, right?
Right.
And then afterwards, they tested them on math and reading. And you might think, well, of course, the kids who ran longer did a little better. Maybe they just had more energy.
Right, you'd think.
But it gets way more interesting.
It does, because, so they saw those better scores, but then when they looked at the brain scans of the kids who ran longer, their brains actually looked more mature. Physically.
No way.
It wasn't just like a temporary energy boost.
Right.
Exercise was actually like rewiring their brains.
So we're talking about actual physical changes in the brain because of running.
That's what it's looking like, yeah.
That's incredible. What's going on there? How does that even work?
Well, we're still learning a lot, but one thing we do know is that exercise stimulates neurogenesis.
Neuro what?
Neurogenesis. It's a mouthful, but it basically means the growth of new brain cells.
Okay, so exercise helps grow new brain cells. Got it.
Exactly. And it's not just growing new cells anywhere. It particularly targets the hippocampus, which is this crucial part of the brain for learning and memory.
Wow. So it's almost like exercise is making our brains like younger and more adaptable.
That's a great way to put it.
But what about adults? Is it just kids' brains that get this benefit, or?
That's the amazing part. It's not just kids. So research out of Columbia University shows that adults actually experience similar benefits from exercise.
Really?
And it's because exercise increases something called BDNF.
BDNF. That sounds important.
It is. It stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
Catchy.
Yeah, very catchy, right? But think of BDNF as fertilizer for your brain cells.
Okay.
It helps them grow, it helps them survive, and it helps them make connections with each other.
So how do we get more of this BDNF?
You probably already know where I'm going with this.
Let me guess. Exercise.
Oh.
So we're talking faster processing speed, better memory, all because we went for a run.
That's just the beginning. It's not just new brain cells. It's about strengthening the connections between them.
Okay, I'm listening.
You know how we always hear about neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, those chemical messengers?
Yeah.
Well, those guys, they transmit the signals between those neurons. And exercise makes those messengers way more effective.
So the communication throughout the brain gets better.
Exactly. Like upgrading from dial-up to high-speed internet for your brain.
I like the sound of that.
Right. And this improved communication has a huge impact, not just on thinking, but also on mood and overall well-being, which, maybe we can dig into a little more.
So we've covered how exercise can actually change the physical structure of our brains.
It's wild, right?
It's amazing. Even help grow new brain cells.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what about how we feel?
Right. So it's not just about thinking faster or remembering more. There's this whole other level of benefit to exercise when we're talking about mental health.
Okay.
And the research there is really incredible.
Like what?
Well, for instance, there was this one study at the University of Texas, and they found that exercise, get this, can be just as effective as medication for treating depression in some cases.
Whoa. Seriously?
Seriously.
So it's not just like feeling a bit more upbeat after a walk. We're talking about actual significant changes for people struggling with some serious stuff.
Absolutely. And this is the really interesting part. It's not like having a cup of coffee.
Right, a temporary buzz?
Yeah, exactly. This is about actual shifts in brain chemistry.
Brain chemistry. Okay, so what's going on in there when we exercise?
Well, in a nutshell, when you exercise, your brain, it's like it releases this cocktail of neurochemicals.
Okay.
And one of these is called norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine, what's that do?
So that one, it's a natural stress reliever.
Okay, so less stress. I like that.
Right. And then, of course, there are endorphins.
Oh, yeah, the famous endorphins.
Exactly. Everyone's heard of those, and for good reason.
Our body's natural painkillers, mood boosters, the good stuff.
Exactly. So it's like our brains are rewarding us for moving.
I'll take that reward. Calmer, happier, better able to deal with, everything.
Right. And it gets even cooler.
Oh, there's more.
There's always more. Remember we were talking about the amygdala before.
The amygdala, let me think. That's the part that overreacts to everything.
Right. Well, it's a little more nuanced than that. But yeah, it's involved in our fear and stress response.
Right. And traffic. Can't forget about traffic.
Of course, traffic. So get this. Studies have actually shown that regular exercise, especially things like yoga, can actually make the amygdala less active and even shrink it a bit.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying exercise can shrink the part of my brain that freaks out over, well, everything?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
You've got to be kidding me.
It's like exercise gives your brain the tools to handle stress better, so you're not as overwhelmed or anxious so easily.
All right, you convinced me. Where do I sign up for this yoga class?
Uh-huh.
But really, this is amazing. We've got exercise making us smarter, happier, calmer. It almost sounds too good to be true.
I know, it's really remarkable. And the best part is, you don't have to become some kind of marathon runner to get these benefits.
Right, you don't need a gym membership or fancy equipment.
Exactly, just get moving.
So it sounds like we're saying it doesn't really matter what you do as long as you're moving your body in some way?
Pretty much, yeah. Walking, dancing, heck, even just getting outside for a bit, it all makes a difference.
Love it. So good for the brain.
It really is. And, thinking about all this,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder what else is out there.
What do I mean?
Well, if we know all this already about exercise and how it affects our brains, imagine what we'll discover next.
Oh, wow, yeah. It feels like we're just scratching the surface.
Exactly. Like, what if exercise was as common in schools and offices as desks and computers are now?
I love that. Imagine, brainstorming sessions that start with a quick yoga flow or something.
Right. Or schools having dance breaks to help kids focus.
It's amazing when you think about the potential.
It really is. Makes you look at exercise in a whole new light, huh?
Totally. So we've gone from kids on treadmills to, a whole new future where moving our bodies unlocks all this potential.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable. And honestly, it just highlights how important it is to make time for movement every single day,
Absolutely. Not just for our bodies, but for our minds, too.
Exactly.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. But as always, we want to leave you with something to think about.
We've explored the science, the incredible connection between exercise and the brain. But now it's your turn. What's one way you can move your body today, even if it's just for a few minutes?
Your brain will thank you.
It really will. Until next time, keep those bodies moving and those minds sharp.